right, police showing up. Sir, I'm on TV. We have seen law enforcement show up over the course of the past 2 hours, but so far there has been no serious response by law enforcement just yet. Wolf, as you know, a curfew will go into effect in around an hour's time. There is no indication right now that these protesters have any inclination of going anywhere. There's no indication that they had heard the message from the president to go home. And I just want to highlight one thing that our colleague Anderson Cooper said. Back in last summer, when the president walked over to St. John's Church and had that entire area cleared out, those protesters were doing far less than something like storming the Capitol. And so far, we have seen very little in terms of response from law enforcement. Wolf.
I want to be careful over there. I know it's going to be dark very, very soon. I'm really worried about what's going to happen once it's dark outside. Pete, my team, is also just outside the U.S. Capitol. Pete, where are you? What do you see?
Apparently between this mob of Trump supporters and police are way outnumbered by this mob here. You can see on the Capitol steps here, this is the Senate side, Capitol Police standing there. In fact, just a few moments ago, we saw two from this group of these rioters, walk up to the police, actually even walk beyond them for a moment. We also heard 3 loud bangs over on this side of the Capitol, what we think are now flashbangs, possibly tear gas. We heard a bit about that from Alex Marquardt. That led a lot of this group to file over here. From the steps leading up to the Capitol on this east side, just to put this in a bit of context, you would never, ever see this many people, this many civilians up on the Capitol right now. We're just on the top side of the Capitol Visitor Center, which would be very, very locked down during normal times. One interesting thing that I have to note here, we're just now hearing a Metropolitan Police helicopter here, and we have seen some police officers, I assume police officers, on the roof, potentially snipers. They have been moving into place, vacillating here between peaceful and very quiet, but also a loud mob behind this as well. Cool?
Yeah, the D.C. curfew ordered by the mayor goes into effect a little bit more than 2 hours from 6 p.m. Until 6 a.m. Ryan Todd, you're also up there in the middle of all of this. Tell us what you're seeing.
Ryan Wolf, we're at the center steps of the Capitol on the east side, and we're going to kind of dig in a little bit tighter. You still see some protesters here really not concerned about the police. There's a protester on top of a government vehicle there. They've been standing on these government vehicles over here. This staircase, this center steps was packed a short time ago, and the police were standing just kind of to the side watching them. The area where we saw, Alex and Pete reporting from a little bit earlier is over there. We did see some smoke and some smoke grenades being deployed over there. That crowd over there kind of pushed back. And as they reported, you see that line of Capitol Hill police officers there on the steps, kind of containing that area. Listen, the protesters had overtaken those steps as well earlier. 3 sets of steps here on the east side of the Capitol have all been overtaken by protesters. Now, 2 of the 3 are pretty much clear. This one is still not. And as you can see, let's take another shot of these protesters here on top of this government vehicle. The police have not moved in force just yet, and it really, as everybody's been talking about all day, this just kind of reveals the stunning vulnerability that the Capitol has been left under today. And it's in evidence here on the east side, on the west side, where the confrontations with police were very tense. And we saw protesters climb these risers that were built specifically for the inauguration and start waving Trump flags on top of the risers. So they were allowed to, get almost anywhere they wanted on the Capitol grounds today. And as of now, we hear reports that the police are coming. We hear reports that the National Guard is coming in great numbers. You're not seeing it here yet. This is, if they're coming, they're taking their time. And these protesters are seemingly they're not inclined to leave, and they don't seem to be very worried at all right now.
It does look, though, Brian, like the crowd is thinning out a little bit right now as it's beginning to get dark.
They are thinning out. They've been thinning out a little bit over the past hour, but again, they're leaving on their own volition. They're not leaving because the police are pushing them out. The police really, we did see two lines of riot gear clad police come through here, walking fairly slowly, and there were some protesters trailing behind them, yelling at them, kind of harassing them a little bit. So, again, there's tension here, but the police, even though, again, we're warned about the curfew at 6 o'clock, we're told that the police and National Guard are on the way here, but, right now, these crowds are leaving, they're leaving on their own. And we can show you another shot of over here. There was some movement here of some protesters, again, where the smoke grenades went off. And, the rioters had been pushed back there after some smoke grenades went off a short time ago. So, again, these people, are still here. Some of them say they're going to stay here, but, when the police arrive in force, there could be some real tension here and possibly some violence.
2 hours until that curfew goes into effect. And Bryce, be safe over there. Be careful. The former DC police chief, Charles Ramsey, who's also the police commissioner of Philadelphia, is joining us. So right now, it's 1 hour from now, a little bit more than 1 hour from now. Chief Ramsey, you were the police chief here in the nation's capital. What do you think about this decision to have a curfew from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m.?
Well, it's a good move. These folks aren't going to pay any attention to it, though. But the mayor's got to do what she's got to do. The bottom line is they've got to start clearing this, the Capitol grounds. I don't know what they're waiting on. I know they've activated and brought in National Guard, supposedly from a couple different states, Maryland and Virginia, as well as the district. Maybe they're assembling somewhere and trying to get their battle plan together in terms of how they're going to handle it. I can look at the flags and tell that the wind's blowing pretty good, so you probably want to move in with the wind to your back in case you have to use chemical munitions or pepper spray or what have you. But they got to get them off the grounds. They've got to reestablish a perimeter. They've got to get them out of the building, and they need to get started as soon as they possibly can.
Because the mayor, in her statement that was released, Chief Ramsey, said as far as this curfew is concerned, during the hours of the curfew, no person other than persons designated by the mayor shall walk, bike, run, loiter, stand, or motor by car or other mode of transport upon any street, alley, park, or other public place within the district. When you were the police chief, did you ever have a curfew like that?
I don't recall. During the IMF World Bank, back in the early 2000s, there may have been a curfew. I just don't recall offhand. But nothing, we didn't have anything like this. The Capitol Police got overwhelmed. There'll be a lot of people looking at what happened there. There's about 2,000 Capitol Police. I don't know why they didn't have enough people available to at least prevent this from happening in the first place. Of course, you can always hit a tipping point where you just get overwhelmed. But they got overwhelmed awful quick, and there's no way they should have gotten in that building, in my opinion. But we'll look at that later. That's kind of like the hot wash after the event. Right now, they got to retake the Capitol.
And they're
going to have to do it.
I assume, Chief Ramsey, they got to start arresting some of these people who broke windows and trespassed and just entered into a secure area.
Anybody inside that building, as far as I'm concerned, ought to be face down and